Dinkle's eyes were the colour of muddy puddles. Her only friends were the Noblets from her favourite cartoon. She wished she had some friends. Mary had an idea.
Dear Mr. Horowitz, I am 8 years old. I have a rooster called Ethel. It would be great if you could write back and be my friend.
Dear Mary, thank you for the letter. I have never met anyone from Australia. I share my home with a fish, a parakeet, an invisible friend called Mr. Ravioli. People often confuse me. I have trouble understanding them. Maybe this is why I don't have any friends.
Dear Max, in your letter you said you had no friends. Neither do I. Can you help me?
Dear Mary, do you like chocolate hot dogs?
Where do babies come from in America? Do they come from cola cans? Have you got a girlfriend, Max? Can you explain love? Beat it, creep!
I find the world very confusing and chaotic.
Dear Max, I don't think my parents like you.
People often think I am tactless and rude. I cannot understand how being honest can be improper. You are my best friend, my only friend. P.S. Did you know that turtles can breathe through their anuses?
Ooh. Hi there, Mary. Oh.
Do you have a favorite sounding word?
Papadopoulos.
Mary and Max.
Hello, and welcome back to the MidNight podcast. My name is Ben Haywood, as always, and in today's episode we're going to be talking about Mary and Max, and I will be reviewing the film. So if you haven't already, why not subscribe and hit the notification bell if the kind of stuff I talk about, which is films, TV, animation, art, anything narrative based. So yeah, let's get into the video. So Mary and Max, has quite the impressive cast on its list here, as we have Philip Seymour Hoffman as Max Jerry Horowitz, Toni Collette as Mary Daisy Dinkle, who is the older version of Mary Daisy Dinkle. We've also got Eric Bana as Mary's old love interest, Damien, and we've also got Bethany Whitmore as young Mary. So Mary and Max, it's a very unique animation, I have to say. Like it's quite rare that, well, it's not rare, like for like a general audience, like animation is very like seen as being aimed for like child friendly type of audience, so like the more like family friendly, light hearted audience, and with this film that doesn't go in that direction at all. Like, as I studied my degrees in animation, and so because of that, like, you should be getting quite a lot of the animation content on this channel. Like, as my degree was in animation, like, I've kind of written an essay on this, like, should like films, like animated films, be taken more seriously, like in the dark tone. And with this film, like, this ticks all the boxes for that type of thing, as I've heavily included Mary and Max into my essay and other works of Adam Elliott. And with Elliott's work, with his he's had his Oscar-winning film, which is Harvey Crumpet, and he's quite known for like going for these darker stories. Like he usually shoots his stop motion films, as he likes to call it, claymations or clayographies, in like a black and white picture. So as you can see, that very much suits my style of content. And yeah, from his other films, like I think his most recent one, Ernie Biscuits, is a student film, which is Uncle, and I think he made that into like a trilogy, which is like Uncle, I don't know, nephew, all that kind of stuff, like different family member names. So yeah, and for that reason, that for me makes Adam Elliott, I'd say, one of the most unique filmmakers out there. And as an animation filmmaker, that is pretty rare. And he mainly works with a tight budget, and you get to see that in like a lot of his films. Like a couple of his films is up on YouTube, so you should be able to like watch some of them free. Like Harvey Crumpets is up there, I'm pretty sure, and I think like some of his very, very older stuff, like Uncle, which I think was his graduate film and all that. So yeah, it just makes him one of the most interesting filmmakers, as I've mentioned. So yeah, getting back to Mary and Max, which is his only feature film that he's made. I'd like to see him do some more feature work, but like if that ever happens, like if Adam Elliott's watching, feel free to sign me up, because I'm quite interested in doing like voice acting as a career option. And yeah, I'd absolutely love to work on anything that he does, like absolutely anything. So yeah, Mary and Max. So first start off in like an Australian setting where Mary's got a very troubled lifestyle. She's very lonely, very isolated, doesn't have the best time at like school and things like that. And her parents are not the greatest parents. Like they're not the ideal type of parents in a lifestyle. I think her mum's has her struggles with like alcohol and depression and taking medication and all that, and it's turned her very loopy and very cold, like. And her father's, he doesn't say much or nothing really. You don't see a lot of him, but whatever you do see of him, he looks very, very miserable and depressed, which is quite the toxic atmosphere to be around. So one day Mary like looks through this like shop that's probably near her house, and she finds a book of like American phone numbers. So obviously she comes across Max Horowitz's phone number. Then we get introduced to Max, who he lives in New York. Like Mary, he's got a very lonely, very isolated lifestyle. He is much older than Mary, so I'd say about good 30 years older probably, as he first meets Mary through the letters as he's a 44-year-old man, and I think Mary, if I can remember, she's around 8 or 9, I'm not sure. So she's very young, and Max is like pushing his middle-aged years, really. So yeah, as Max is an older person, he's got more of a history. He's got a past. His past is very troubled. It's not great. He has a very troubled like relationship with his mother, as I'm going to go into spoiler territory, that she committed suicide. I think that's what I got from the film. And barely had any friends, got bullied, got tortured by people, and he has this very like Jewish upbringing, and it claims at the end, like in the more like current times, that he's an atheist. He also has Asperger's syndrome, which affects his mental health. Like, I'm no expert in Asperger's, but I kind of have a connection with Asperger's myself, but I'm not going to go into detail with that. And that is very much the main plot line of this story, as Mary and Max are both pen pals now. We have Barry Humphries as the narrator of the film, and Eric Bana, as he's such a high caliber of actor, usually, like, he's been in some very good stuff. I know him mostly for being the Incredible Hulk. He's also been in some very, very good films that I like Hannah. He's gone a bit method in a few roles that I've seen him in, and I think stuff like Troy. So in this film, he doesn't have much of a massive role. Like, for someone who's such high collaborators like Eric Bana, it's a bit surprising, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's like a massive problem, and it's such good work. So if I was at his level of career-wise, like, if I'd probably be more than happy to do an Adam Elliott film, whatever the role is, how big or small it is. So I don't blame him, to be honest. So yeah, get to see these two characters, Mary and Max, grow with each other. Like, it's well known that Mary grows taller and Max grows even wider, because they have this close bond as being pen pals for probably like 20 years, I'd say, probably a bit less than that. And yeah, it's like them two are basically the only friends they have, and it's quite sad and very lonely, and it's like they barely know each other because they live in complete opposite sides of the world, like, and probably different lifestyles. And yeah, it's very, like, interesting how that they basically, like, it's like a very interesting friendship, as they've never met each other, but it's like they're like the best friends because it's basically the only friends they have, and they have that up and down situation that I guess any friendship has at some point. And yeah, more interesting, more what I've got to say of, like, the character kind of development. I'm going to talk a little bit about the character designs and the style of animation, as I am, like, I've only just recently finished an animation degree, so I kind of say that that's my kind of area at the moment. So yeah, the art style, it's very wonky, it's very, like, it shows off its imperfections basically, and it conveys that in, like, a real world situation where, like, these characters, these people, they're not perfect, they're pretty fucking far from perfect, they're complete opposite. And this is to do with, like, personality, and it's got these wonky edges. It shows the imperfections of the design. It's very stereotypically cartoonish, very goofy, funky type of style, and that's a thing with most of Adam Elliott's work. And it's kind of like a theme. It's his, like, distinct signature style, I'd say, and as it's a stop motion animated film, I think that personally adds to, like, the gritty tone that this film has, the very dark, gritty, realistic, worldly feel, and it conveys to that area very, very well, I'd say. And yeah, it's I'm basically going off what I said in, like, my essay, really, and it's like it's dark, but it's got, like, this shadow, like, it's got a shade of, it's like a layer of like humour, really, I'd say. Like, it's very dark humour, And I'd say that's my kind of go-to genre, really, like a dark comedy. Like, I feel like that's where I get the most enjoyment in films and movies. And as I am like a filmmaker myself, and I do a bit of animation with, like, because I've made a film recently called Bushman. I originally wanted to do that as a dark comedy because of that genre is what gets me most excited personally. It's what gets me most interested. And yeah, when this shows that this film is a dark comedy in a way. And yeah, very much so. Another thing I'm going to mention is with the cast, it's got such a high collaborative casting. Like, you got like people like Philip Seymour Hoffman, which back then, like, he was at the top of his game, like doing Oscar type of like collaborator films. You got Toni Collette, that is very pretty similar, really. And I think someone that comes across this film for the first time, like, you don't realise that it's you got such a high calibre of actors behind it, and you kind of forget that. And like, I could not tell that Max Jerry Horowitz would have such a well-known actor like Philip Seymour Hoffman. Like, it doesn't really sound like him, and he does this very kind of cliche New Yorker accent, like, and he kind of like speaks slowly. It's very gruff, and so yeah, you can tell he's depressed and stuff. And it's similar with like the style of animation. Like, if you although it's like these wonky looking goofy animations, like, and these goofy looking character designs, you eventually forget that you are watching an animation, like, or as like the general audience would go, a cartoon. Like, it kind of feels like the real people in a way, and it's set in like its own world. Like, you got a picture of like Albert Einstein that's been painted or sculpted in the same character designs as like a typical Adam Elliott character. And it with the buildings, like, you get to see the World Trade Center in like the beginning of the film, and it's very blocky and imperfections. It's like you can see the dirtiness, the buildings kind of crumble in a way, and it's very blocky, distinct. Like, the sky, the clouds and everything are very chunky and wonky, and I really do like this as a film. Like, it's very, very handcrafted feel, and that's what I like about stop motion animation. Like, personally, at university, I like fell more towards like the 2D animation because that's where I felt most comfortable. But I have, like, if I was going to do anything else, I have flirted with the idea of doing stop motion animation. But yeah, as personally as like a filmmaker, I think I'm one of them that has not really made his mind up of what type of style of filmmaking or just art in general I want to go for. And I can relate to this film as, like, I really am a fan of the handcrafted look from the very start of me personally going into an animation course. Like, I wanted to like try and explore the handcrafted type of look, and I think that's, like, for that ticks all the boxes. It's kind of similar with like another film with the Isle of Dogs. Like, it's all practical effects rather than like CGI and all that kind of stuff. And like, if you come to me, I'm not like the biggest fan of CGI. I'm more of like a practical effects kind of person. As it's timeless. I just love that type of look personally. It's very on the edge, really, and that's what I'm into personally. Bit like a Christopher Nolan type of approach where he goes for more practical effects rather than CGI, and this is very much the same in stop motion filmmaking, really. And yeah, that's I really appreciate that approach to this film. So anyway, I think that's all I've got to say about Mary and Max at the moment, and I think I'd give this film, 10 out of 10. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, really. Like, you can't go wrong with it for me. Probably too generous on, like, these reviews, but yeah, like, I'm quite easygoing when it comes to, like, reviewing films, like, yeah, 10 out of 10 for me. So yeah, that's all I've got to say about Mary and Max, I think. So if you've enjoyed this type of video, why not subscribe for more like film-based content, animation, TV, like narrative-based content. That's all my kind of stuff. And yeah, hit the notification bell if you want to see more whenever you feel like coming up to see my content. So yeah, I think that's all I've got for now. So yeah, goodbye.